of us, but he blessed my dad with my dad's love of his life, Jimmy. He was the first one, and then followed by Becca, Gage, Taylor, Miranda, and MJ. All who knew my dad were always greeted by his smile, warm hug, jolly laugh, and aura of joy and love. He was born and raised in Glen Cotabato, a very remote but beautiful town on the most southern tip of the Philippines in the Pacific Ocean. It was where the water was bright clear blue, beaches were untouched powder, coconut trees were vast, and wild horses ran free. He was also the second oldest of four, which is why I was his favorite. I was. And then, his parents were very religious, stern, and driven educators who built their town, educated the children, and provided jobs for the townspeople. When my grandfather was being honored for his accomplishments for the town, there were no roads or bridges to get to the mainland, so they embarked on a boat filled with his family and all his students in among the shark-infested choppy waters. The water became treacherous, and while my grandfather was ensuring the safety of everyone else, the captain accidentally knocked him off the boat. Sadly, all efforts to save him failed, and the sharks won. After witnessing the horrible loss of his father, my dad never cried. He immediately took the role of his father and vowed to make him proud. He was only 10 years old when that happened. My grandmother was a devout Catholic, but tough, strict, and fiercely industrious. She became the mayor of the town and made her kids work for everything they needed. Her motto was always, many hands make work light. So my dad took to selling mangoes, bananas, and coconuts from their beautiful land. Those coconuts sent my dad and his brother to medical school to become doctors, and his sisters to become teachers and successful business women. He was an altar boy, and he and his altar boy friends used to sneak behind the altar and steal wine. And they got caught too. He was a carpenter and built his mom a beautiful house with high ceilings, huge doors, and it was made of cement and stands strong to this day. He'd say, a strong foundation builds a strong home. He was a boxer. He wanted to go professional, but my grandma made him go to medical school. He could have been the first Manny Pacquiao, or Manny Pacquiao could have been the second Rodolfo Deoquino. When he went to med school at FEU, he bonded with his classmates and lived together in a boarding hotel owned by my mother's family. It was discovered by my uncle Pabling, who just recently passed away 2 years ago. It was catered to medical students so that they can focus on their studies. He told stories of his residency riding horses to deliver babies and all sorts of medical services with minimal resources. Upon graduation, my dad and several of his classmates were fortunate enough to get the opportunity to complete their residency in the US. They were able to fulfill their dreams. This became the foundation of the Filipino family network, aunts, uncles, and cousins who are integral parts of our lives to this day. Some here, some past. They included the Fermos, Dalimats, Tolentinos, Rabadans, Corderos, Santoses, and more. They started in New Jersey, but when our late uncle Amanti Dalimat took a job on Long Island, they couldn't be apart, so they followed. That's how we became Long Islanders. And then our other family expanded with Uncle Nonong Mapula, Tita Linda Cabatu, Uncle Romy, the Fernandos, and even more than that, too. My father was a proud American, obsessively practicing vocabulary tapes and books to improve his English. He had an enormous record and 8-track collection, loving his Elvis, disco, and ballroom dancing. His first car was a Mustang he bought even before he knew how to drive, because he was always on horses. He was a workaholic, working in 4 hospitals full-time as a psychiatrist by day and ER doc by night. But somehow he was always available for birthdays, ice skating, dance recitals, track meets, softball games, you name it. He even played basketball with us and was really good for a short Filipino man. He was very generous. When he'd buy for instance, when he would buy a new car, he would give the old car to someone in need or someone who just wanted it. When we asked for lunch or spending money, he'd ask, how much do you want? We'd say, $10? He'd give us 20. We'd say, $20? He'd give us 40. And then it would just go on and on and on. And then in the end, he would say, is that enough? No. Our house was the gathering pad after school and on weekends. We'd ask him to pick up food on the way home from work, like McDonald's. And on the way home, he would pick it up on the way home. And then he'd ask, how many cheeseburgers? We'd say 11. And he'd come home with 22 cheeseburgers and 31 small fries. The Good Humor truck would automatically stop at our house. All the kids would gather in front of our house, and my dad would just make sure every single kid got their ice cream. He just gave and gave and gave and never asked for anything in return, just love. He taught us to always kiss each other and say, I love you, because you never know if it will be your last. Not only was our house the party house filled with fun, love, laughter, tons of food, and a bartender, it was always the local walk-in clinic, open 24/7, no insurance needed, and free of charge. He seemed to always be available to stitch a wound, remove splinters, ticks, give prescriptions, check on a neighbor's dying mom, hyfricate warts, and whisk kids away to the emergency room for critical emergencies. Later in life, he met Julia, and she made him so happy. They became inseparable. We could see that he was truly at his happiest when he was with her. She also has this amazing, loving family who learned to love him and adore him as well. How can you not? Although his passing was so unexpected, may we have peace that he died a truly happy and loved man. May the Lord take him in his heavenly arms, and may we all continue to live our lives as he did, working hard, loving harder. I love you, Dad, but this is not the last.